Football club ownership is a precarious business, where even successful businessmen can fail and are bemused by the practices of football clubs. No other business can make a man as unpopular as running a football club. Players are worshipped and managers become legends, yet owners are at best tolerated, at worst they're hated. And yet despite this, English clubs are in high demand, with 12 teams in the Premier League under the control of foreign investors. It all begs the question, why the would anyone want to buy a football club?
So I'm Rob Wilson, I'm a football finance expert at Sheffield Hallam University, and we do lots of research around finances of professional team sport and other slightly to football in particular.
My name's James Montague, I'm the author of the Billionaires Club, The Unstoppable Rise of Football Super Rich Owners. It's a book about the richest people, most powerful people in the world who have bought into football clubs and are using it sometimes for their own political and economic ends.
It used to be the case that nothing burns through your money like owning a football club. But the formation of the Premier League in 1992, the subsequent TV deals and the untold riches that provides means that this isn't the case. These riches started to attract a foreign investor that the British game hadn't really experienced. The first to appear on these shores was Roman Abramovich.
Something really changed with the advent of the Premier League and also the advent of the super rich oligarchs.
If you look back as far as probably 2003, when Roman Abramovich came over with his billions for Chelsea, there was a potential there to pile lots and lots of their own capital in and then herald what we would call a trophy asset. When Abramovich took over at Chelsea, that was exactly what he was all about. It was very much a plaything. He was earning huge amounts of money over in Russia from his various investments that he had out there. Some will argue that there was a tax relief in the fact that he could invest some of the profits from his other companies through Chelsea, but I think that really is a side argument. I think what he was really about was being shown on the television, holding the Premier League trophy above his head, and ultimately holding the Champions League trophy above his head.
There could, however, be a more sinister reason for Abramovich's purchase of Chelsea.
I think we have to be a bit more realistic about the motives and aims of this new class of owner. Every oligarch in Russia eventually has their fortunes taken away from them when they displease Vladimir Putin, and it's given him some form of international kind of prestige, and it's made it much harder for him to be destroyed. So you can see football clubs almost as well as like an insurance policy against their fortunes being taken away.
Whatever the reason, Abramovich heralded a new type of football owner in England. This season, each Premier League club is guaranteed a minimum of £170 million over 3 years, even if they finish rock bottom. It's obvious then why people are interested in buying those teams. Many more followed, led mainly from two areas, the Middle East and the USA. For the Middle Eastern buyers, it can be argued that football isn't the motivating factor behind these purchases. And with vast wealth already, it's not just about the huge monetary rewards either.
But then you look to the Middle East, and you have two football teams in particular, Manchester City and Paris Saint-Germain, and both of these teams are effectively owned by states. And then you're thinking, well, that's because there are political ends here. There's a political game going on, and they're investing in it because it's a soft power tool for them. They want to show the rest of the world that they are a modern, forward-thinking, liberal nation and a kind of equal on the international stage. They give fantastic branding, fantastic advertising for their tourism industry, for their airlines, but at the same time, this is reputation laundering. These people did not buy football clubs because they loved PSG, because they loved Manchester City. They're buying entertainment products with which they can burnish their reputations. The football is absolutely not even secondary, it's at the bottom of the list for a lot of these people.
You could argue this sentiment is the same for the American investor, but their motivations for being involved could be a bit more straightforward. The interest in the cold, hard cash.
So I think we've seen more of an interest by particularly American owners because they deliver what we call profit maximisation strategies. So they're looking to invest in professional football clubs to get a return on investment.
You find that all the investors coming from America, they're interested purely in profit, because all of these guys, if you look at Stan Kroenke, the Glazers, they have all invested in American sports. They've made huge amounts of money in the NFL and the NBA. They look at soccer and they say, soccer is undervalued. Soccer can grow. Soccer's got a huge international audience in a way that NFL doesn't have. So they're investing because they see that soccer is as an valued asset, and that it could be, as an entertainment product, something that could give them a huge profit.
Well, some of them make money. So the Glazer takeover at Manchester United was driven around that profit maximisation strategy. Let's use what is a fairly big global brand and turn it into something even bigger, generate many more commercial deals so that we can take some money out of that football club. So as an investment, it was a good idea.
Of course, there are local businessmen with their own reasons to buy a club, but these do come with cautionary tales.
What we also then have are kind of domestic owners that perhaps want to do something for traditionally wanted to do for their local football team. So some personal wealth that would be invested to stabilise the football club, and just so their local team's done all right, because they're domestically, that's their kind of club, that's who they follow, and that's what they want to do.
Mainly it was philanthropy. Local businessman does good, invest in a team.
Simon Jordan tells the story of how owning a football club can go terribly wrong.
They're very emotional acquisitions, aren't they, football clubs? We tend to find that there's a real association, whether it's through a fan or whether it's through the owner. So Simon Jordan's a classic example. He didn't buy Palace to make loads of money. He bought it as an investment in a team that he wanted to support.
Jordan amassed a fortune of £75 million in the early days of the mobile phone revolution. In 2000, he paid £10 million to take control of the South London football team, Crystal Palace, becoming the youngest football club chairman at the age of 32. He was warned by many not to do it, but having watched the club since his childhood, could not resist. Fast forward 10 years, and the club was in administration, and Jordan's personal wealth largely wiped out. Even though Jordan states he tried to run the club as a hard-headed business, ambition was irresistible, and in football, success comes at a high price.
So we've seen that departure from that, remember, that local businessman that's done good, that wants to own his professional team, simply can't afford to do it anymore because the running costs are so high, and you have to balance your books somehow, and they can't invest their own money to do that. So, the millionaires that bought football clubs back in the 90s are the billionaires that are trying to buy them now. And, a billionaire probably needs to be a multi-billionaire to acquire a Premier League football team now, just to make sure that it can be stabilised. So I don't think we'll see many Simon Jordans picking up football teams over the next few years, unless it's down in League One and League Two.
So whether it be vanity, for money, for reputation, or for the local community, there are numerous reasons to buy a club. But are all these new breed of football owners good for the game?
I've got no doubt that the super rich are ruining the game, and we're heading towards an extremely, difficult period.
I think the reality is it is a global game, and because it's a global game, you have to kind of run with the punches on that a little bit. And I think it's certainly lost some of its soul, hasn't it? And what I think has happened since the advent of the Premier League is it's almost become quite sanitised. And we see a departure, don't we, particularly in narrative around football losing its soul and it losing its tradition.
And that's where we're headed. We're heading towards a tipping point that will change the game forever, and I think will destroy it for many people in this country.